It was just so very cool to be able to be free. And I guess freedom is the gift I've gotten from cancer. Freedom to be myself. It's so wonderful and so fun to be me. I call this a gift. And I'm writing a book, and they're called Gifts from Cancer. And this is one of my gifts that I got, the gift of forgiveness. Now, interestingly enough, thereafter, God began reminding me, remember that girl all the way who lives all the way in Maryland? Remember her? And you have a grudge against her? And I'm like, oh yeah. Well, because she's all the way in Maryland, I don't have to deal with it. And I had to begin saying, okay, I forgive her. Now, this is a different situation because the hurt that I felt from her was maybe as deep as the hurt I felt from my brother. And it's a little harder for me to think about forgiving her. But by faith, I say I forgive her. And when the thoughts come up to me about what she might have done, I just say I forgive her. Now, my husband and I were standing in front of the elevator doors, ready to leave. And elevator doors are something you really don't pay attention to as you're waiting for the elevator to come along and take you to your destination. But those elevator doors will forever be etched in my mind because my big, strong, wonderful husband burst into tears. And I look at him like, what's going on? Because I thought that was good news. I would have surgery, the cancer would be gone, and that would be that. He says, I'm so thankful I have my wife. It was good news for him, but he had been emotionally processing this differently than I had. He had worried, he had acted normally, really, if you want to call it normal, to the news of possible cancer. And I realized right then and there that I was emotionally shut down and that what I considered not worrying and that was a good thing, that really I probably was in denial. And that's how I handled situations. And so why it forever changed my life, because I realized at that point that I had a problem and that it was emotional disconnect. The cancer had metastasized to the lungs, and they said this is very uncommon. A few months later, I started losing use of my left leg, and I went to the neurologist, and he said, oh, it's not common for the endometrial cancer to go to the brain. It's probably not that. Well, it had metastasized, and I had a tumor in the brain. So it's like each step of the way, I was getting worse and worse news, and I was having to deal with it. But I had seen a video or story years ago about a man who decided that he was going to use humor to help cure his cancer or his disease. And he would watch Three Stooges movies every day. And he was very successful in his recovery. And so I decided that I was going to use humor also, along with praising God every day, along with reading my scriptures every day. It became part of my protocol for healing. And so everyone began to realize that, well, Martha wants a big belly laugh every day. And so sometimes they would come and they would say, we have your vitamin belly laugh today, and they would call with jokes or come. And then I read a text that said, if you serve, you will get your healing. And I began claiming that text, and I decided that if anyone came to my house, they were going to be blessed. And so I began blessing others as they came to my house, and I was serving at home. And then finally one day I decided to serve at church, where I had been staying home from church, or if I went to church, I was just sitting quietly. I got up in church and I decided I was going to serve. And I led the praise and worship. Now I needed people to help me because I was just starting to walk again, and they helped me up, and I got up and led praise and worship that Sabbath, and I led praise and worship for 3 Sabbaths in a row. And I wanted to be an inspiration to the audience to say, if I can serve, and I have cancer, certainly you can serve. And that was another gift from cancer. So in looking at that and realizing, okay, I can freely be myself. I can freely live in that healthy space also was a gift from cancer. Just being able to work with my daughter, being able to connect with her because she had to be my caretaker. And for so long, she has wanted to be like a very, very close friend of mine. But because I'm so busy fixing the church and I'm not available to her. So we're now spending so much time. We've had, redemption in our relationship. So that's another gift I've gotten from cancer. And I'm just so excited to see what God does with this, because I wake up in the morning, I go and sit in the chair, and the words pour out on the page as if the Holy Spirit is writing this book. I am completely amazed at God. I finish it, I read it, I don't edit it. And it's good. It's a good story, and it's like, wow, this is really good. And to be able to say that about your own work is an amazing thing. I just feel so blessed. And so if I live 5 hours or 5 years or 50 years, I'm blessed.